ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ fateh. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation continues from Rag Asa Bani Paktanki, and this is the 9th Shabad from the composition of Bhagat Kabir Ji. Rag Asa Bani Paktanki Asa Kabir Ji. And these are 4 verses of 2 lines each, so it is a little easy to go line by line, which is what we will do. And in this Shabad, Kabir Ji is essentially reminding us that life is short, that we are mortal, and so it's important what we make of life and not get caught up in the web of attachment. So the Shabad, Asa jab lag tel dive mukh bati, jab lag, as long as tel dive, there is oil in the lamp, mukh bati, and a wick in the mouth, tab, then, sujhe sab koi. Sujhe, awareness. When there is oil in the lamp and there is a wick that is burning, there is light. In other words, discernment comes when one is aware. And we'll talk about this in a moment. Sab koi, everyone. Tel jale bati thehrani. Tel jale bati thehrani. So we have seen, Kabir Ji is saying, as long as there is oil, what he's talking about is the life force in the lamp, which is a symbol for the body, and the wick, which is the individual's soul, is lit, the mind. Jabalag, then one can discern the world. But when the oil is spent, that is, when the vital force in the body disassociates and the wick is snuffed out, the body temple, he says, becomes deserted. In other words, it becomes devoid of activity. So, jab lag tel dive mukh bati, tab suje sab koi, tel jale bati thehrani. Thehrani is extinguished. Suna mandar hoye. Then the temple of the body becomes empty, devoid, deserted, in other words. So the symbolism here is oil, lamp, and wick. So there are suggestions being made here that we can discern. One is that life is made possible only when the tangible and the intangible converge. There is a convergence that happens. So you have the body, you have the mind and the spirit, the animating spirit, or the élan vital, which drives evolution or which derives our creativity and innovation, which gives us possibility. So as long as this vital force is present, creativity and discernment is possible. So this is how sab koi, everyone is given awareness. But he also cautions us that life is transient, fleeting in nature. And our window of opportunity is small indeed. That's what I gather from the first verse. And now we come to the Rahau, which is the reflection, what Kabir wishes us to reflect on. He calls out to us by saying, Re Baure, hey, you crazy one, hey Baure, तुहे करी न रखे कोई, तुहे करी न रखे होए. Realize that no one will keep you even for a second or a moment when you die. So don't be so full of yourself. In other words, don't be filled with self-importance. Because when you die, no one's going to even bother keeping you for a second. So what should you be doing? Tu Ram Naam Jap Soi. Contemplate the self, the wisdom of the self that is within you. So what he's saying is, oh crazy one, you're not going to live forever. Don't get caught up in the sense of attachments to the world. This is not to say that one shouldn't exist and function in the world. In fact, he's saying that as long as you have the vital force in you, you have creativity, you have discernment, so make something of it. But don't get enmeshed, don't get entangled. Meditate instead on the wisdom of self-knowledge and make that your guide. Be guided by wisdom in whatever you do. So wisdom will essentially teach us how to face our mortality. That's what wisdom does. We know we are mortal and we're afraid, but wisdom teaches us that to be successful, we should experience our time here qualitatively. It is the quality of our experience that will determine the success of our life. It is not the quantity. So the quantity may be, the window of opportunity may be small, but it is what you make of it. And in order to make the best of it, anchor yourself in Gur wisdom. That was the Rahau, that was the reflection. Seize the moment. Carpe diem. And the second verse after the Rahau, Kabirji says, Kaki maat pita kahun ka, ko kavad purukh ki joy. Here he's questioning worldly relations. He's talking about the impermanence of relationships that appear to us to be permanent. We never think that all of this is going to scatter one day. So he says, Kaki maat, whence the mother? Pita kahun ka, whence the father? Ko kavan purukh ki joy. Kavan purukh, who's the man and who's the wife? Purukh here is used for a man. It means consciousness as well. So, where do they come from and where do they go? He's asking you that question because Kabirji wants you to think along these lines. So, ka ki maat pita kahun ka, ko kavan purukh ki joy, because ghat phoote, ghat is a bank, a physical bank referring to the body here. Ghat phoote is to break. He says, look, when the body picture, this physical body breaks, no one really cares about it. Ko baat na pooche. And what happens then? Kadho hoi. The air is filled with cries of get the body out. This is indeed what happens when there is a death in the family, does it not? We do not wish to waste time because the body starts smelling, for one thing, and therefore everyone is in a rush to take it to the crematorium or to the graveyard, as it may be. So Kabir is actually prodding you to say, don't be mistaken about what is around you. In the grand scheme of things, relationships, familial and otherwise, are transient. Also, when he asks, when's the mother, he is prodding us to delve into our origins. What is your source? Where have you come from? Think about that. Think about it. Then he goes on in the third verse to describe the scene where a death has occurred. Here's the scene he's describing. Dehuri baithi mata rove. Dehuri baithi, Dehuri, on the doorstep, at the threshold. This is custom in the setting that he is in, which is the Indian setting. Typically, women who come to condole will sit at the doorstep. They don't actually come right into the house. They congregate at the doorstep. Dehuri baithi mata rove. Mata means a mother as well, but here it's a reference to the plural feminine woman. Women will gather there. Khatiya le gaye pai. Khatiya, the cot, the bed on which they place the body, is taken by pai, brothers meaning men. Because the custom in India used to be, might still be, that women typically did not accompany the body to the crematorium. That is Hindu custom. So Kabir is referring to that. Women will sit and moan and wail and weep, while the men will carry the bed, the bier, to the crematorium. And then he describes the poor wife, if she's around. Lat chitakaye tiriya rove. Actually, this is not simply the wife, but women who, in fact, there are professional women who come, professional criers, and what they do is lat chitakai, they scatter, they turn their heads around with speed, and their hair is let loose, so it scatters around their head, and they cry out aloud. This is part of the custom. It's to trigger grief, because sometimes you're so frozen by the loss that you don't react. So this is a way of getting a reaction out of you. But Kabir says, Hans akela jai, the swan soul, the sentient being, leaves alone. So life, Kabirji is reminding us, is a solo journey. You're a solo climber. It's like a solo mountain climber who has to scale the summit alone. Although the climber is always anchored in base camp. Likewise, we are anchored in the world. We are anchored in family, in friends, but the journey is a solo one. Amidst everything, the journey is a solo one. And so Kabirji then concludes by saying, Kahat Kabir, says Kabir, this is the signature line where he says, Sunore Santo, listen to me. Santo here is being used for those who seek the state of being a sant. And the state of being a sant is to be tranquil. Sant comes from sant. So that is the first stage in this journey, is to be content, to be calm, tranquil. So Kabir is addressing the seekers as santo, seekers of santa. Sagar kehta. So Kabir says, listen to me. I'm going to tell you about Sagar, the ocean of fear, This is a symbol for existence because existence is frightening. I'm going to tell you about the ocean of fear and how to cross over. इस बंदे सिर जुल्म होता है जब नहीं हारता. So we are subjected to suffering, the tyranny of fate, as long as you stay attached to the world. So therefore seek the protection of Gosain, the self, the protector. In other words, attach to yourself, understand who you really are, and don't get entangled in the world. Be of the world, be in the world rather, but not of it. That's the trick. That's the skill. So live skillfully. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.